armed to tell the truth. And so we will start with Mrs. Linda Milligan White, our first commissioner.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Stovall.
Good afternoon.
Firstly, let me thank you for being here. I was very impressed with your presentation, and I think we've all learned something today. My question is very simple, relating to the Marsden graveyard. Who is currently the legal owner of the graveyard?
Well, my understanding is that the graveyard was not part of the sale or part of the ownership of the Bermuda Development Company. That was left out of the sale of all the land that went to the Bermuda Development Company. Well, who would wind up after that, I don't know how, who became in charge of it after that.
Okay, so it wasn't conveyed to the Bermuda Development Corporation,
No,
in your knowledge?
not that I know of. It was, like I said, not part of the agreement of the Bermuda Development Corporation.
Do you know who is responsible for maintaining the graveyard?
Well, my understanding was that the Bermuda Development Company promised to help me to maintain it. But based on what I've seen down there, of course, I'm only 72 years of age, and that place has been around about the whole situation with Takatan has been over 90 odd years now, I guess. And I've heard that they didn't seem like if they really took care of it or maintained it any.
One of my
whoever
colleagues,
took over the Bermuda Development Company lands.
Mr. Starling, is one of the commissioners, and he would like to ask questions based on that issue as well. Mr. Starling?
Go ahead, Mr. Starling.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Milligan White. Good afternoon, Mr. Stowe.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, so it is quite interesting looking at the question of ownership of the cemetery. I note on point 24 of your submission that you state your belief that you just reiterated, that the graveyard was exempt from the sale to the Bermuda Development Corporation.
Yeah, exempt from the sale, yeah.
It's interesting that after the sale, sometime during the night, the perimeter walls were constructed. There were no perimeter walls off the cemetery pre-1920. At some point, the eastern and northern walls were destroyed sometime around the 1940s when Mid-Ocean was doing some landscaping.
Some who?
Mid-Ocean Club were doing some landscaping. Maybe not Mid-Ocean Club, but whatever the name of the business was at that time. When you visited in 1989 to take those photos, am I understanding that the northern and eastern walls were not present?
Well, third, the southern end, only southern end, and a part of the, I guess, northern walls. I'm not quite sure how that the longitude of the according to the direction, but the walls facing more southward, but a good third of that was missing.
Right. And I understand that the rest of the walls were rebuilt in around 1991. And then there was the ground penetrating radar in 2011, which found evidence that the original graveyard expanded to the east.
Yeah.
Right. In your research, have you been able to get an idea of the size of the original graveyard?
Well, to tell you the truth, I've had some doubts about the size as it is now, and another friend of mine, another descendant of Dr. Tom, we were looking at that, and we've been trying to look at any old map that we could find to try and get a true size of the graveyard. And on the Savage map, we see something, and you see something that seems different, seems odd. The whole graveyard seems odd. A friend done a research into body count.
Mhm.
She can't seem to find bad nowhere else in Bermuda. They're unaccounted for. And these are people that come from out of Tucker's Town. Now, if they're buried in Tucker's Town, we don't think that 260-something people fit in that little graveyard that's right there.
If I can just then summarize what I understand from this conversation. Sometime after 1920, evidence that the original cemetery extended beyond, and that there's lack of clarity on the ownership of the cemetery itself after 1920.
There's a lack of clearance. Well, we're trying to, pinpoint something to do with the land, the agreement with the church and Tucker's, with the Bermuda Development Company. We're looking for those documents. We can't seem to find them. To find out what was the true position of the cemetery. They seem to disappear or whatever.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Starlin. Mr. Parent Chief?
Good afternoon, Mr. Stovall.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Stovall, you submitted to this commission a letter, and it is Exhibit 25. I'll just show you the letter.
Oh, yeah.
That was penned Medicine Club Limited, Tucker's Town, dated 20th of October 1984. Don't worry, it's all printed here.
Okay.
You said you got it from the Bermuda Archives, and it's clearly marked and stamped Bermuda Archives.
Yeah.
That letter was penned by the Colonial Secretary, and first of all, of October, that a letter had been written by the resident manager of Miller's Club to the Colonial Secretary.
Yeah.
And it's my understanding from this letter as well, the Secretary was inquiring on behalf of His Excellency, the Governor of the day, and it says it is for these reasons that is seeking a clarification of the present position of the Miller's Club in There was also at the end of it a request. I am also to inquire whether as a matter of policy all persons to whom land within the club's property is sold are required to be members of the Miller's Club. So there would have been a response letter, and I believe that you said that in your inquiries at the archives, you had seen such letter. Response to this letter in the archives.
Yeah.
All right, I wouldn't expect you to know what that had said.
No,
but
we found the letter.
You found the
But
letter.
we didn't get to put it in here with this. But this here was responding to a letter beforehand.
Yes.
That was, I guess, they were seeking permission. And this was in response to that, writing them down about that. But they responded to this letter too.
Yes.
And it's a two-page letter, the other one, that was the response. And it had the president at the time was Mr. Edmund Gibbons.
Oh, yes. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Stovall. Your evidence has been invaluable in advancing what this commission is trying to establish. And I'm eternally grateful to you, and so is the rest of the commission. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
Thank you. Mrs. Binns, opportunity to ask.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Stovall.
you. Good afternoon.
Your great-great-great-great-grandfather, Josiah Smith,
Yeah.
you said that he actually was a captain, was it captain?
Pilot.
A pilot?
Pilot, yeah.
Was that locally?
Well, you know, back then the pilots used to, well, they used to have an outlook. They used to look at people. They used to compete for. There were other pilots, and they used to compete to get to the ship.
Right.
And he was one of those pilots that compete to get to the ship, and they used to have lookouts on the shore to see if a ship coming, and the first pilot to the ship got the job. So he was one of those pilots.
Okay. We understood from some of the evidence that was presented that he was given property by the Queen. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I haven't found anything to that effect.
Right. And
It may have been.
but do you know how many acres he actually owned?
I don't know the exact acres, but I know that the land that Dinah Smith was living on was about, I think, 8.5 acres.
Right. But in total, do you know how many acres and how it was distributed? Just from your research.
Like, what you mean distributed? In his will?
In his will, yes.
No. We know that some of the members of the family didn't get anything.
Right. Would you have been a recipient or beneficiary of that property if it had not been,
Well,
just hypothetically?
at first, because I do have a copy of his will, and at first I did not realize that I thought that, you know, there was I didn't think that I had a claim. I thought maybe that would have been probably already paid out, but to my grandmother, you know, my great-great-grandmother. But as we went, we found anything. Never received nothing. She was just received no money from the Bermuda Development Company for anything, and she did have children.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For what you have presented today. It's great information, and I'm rather interested in the letter that the Colonial Secretary sent to the Mid-Ocean Club, as Mr. Parentiff had pointed out, dated the 20th of October, 1954, because what I'm trying to establish, whether there was fair compensation for the people that were displaced, based on, for instance, it's clearly indicated that not all the land new Bermudians ended up owning parts of Tucker's town. So I'm trying to establish fair market value or fair compensation, whether it was paid in cash to the people that were displaced or land. These Bermudians, what maybe some of that documentation may be with the Mid-Ocean Club as far as who the dates of ownership.
You mean some of the documents?
Yes. By the new owners.
Well, you mean as far as this 1954?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, later. what they have paid for it. I don't know.
Yes.
I haven't found out found any evidence on what they paid, the new people paid.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
But the problem, I think the concern here in this particular letter was that, let me see if I could read that particular section. Your executive, this is on the fourth area. For your executive committee will appreciate that if there is any change of policy, the persons who were forced to sell their properties may well have genuine grounds for complaint. So the whole idea of the Pakistan thing was the whole sale to no Bermudians, so nobody else like that there. And this was this to the Military Club managers. And now the reply, I'm sorry I don't have that letter here. I did find the reply letter, but I don't have it in my file. But a lot of it, the response sense.
Because the other thing that will hopefully be revealed, the executive committee, who rather interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know who that might have been. That would be some information we'll probably have to get from the club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms.
Oh,
Ford.
by the way, I know that Mr. Edmund Gibbons was the president of the club at the time.
That name again,
M.A.
Edmund
Gibbons,
Gibbons?
Edmund Gibbons, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stabile and Ms. Ford. I'm going to allow Ms. Binns to have a follow-up question, and then
Letter from, are you able to give us a brief synopsis of the response? Can you remember what the response was to the Colonial Secretary?
But I know one part of the letter where it said that Gibbons said,
Copy of that response?
Yeah.
Please, for our records.
okay, yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you very much.
thank you, Mrs. Binns. Mr. Stabile?
Good afternoon, Mr. Stovall.
Good afternoon.
In your presentation earlier, you had mentioned that various sites, I think you said 9 locations for potential development had been identified throughout the island.
Oh, yes.
With reference to the tourism enclave.
Yeah.
Do you have knowledge of what the sites were, or
I
where that information might be?
I do have the knowledge of it, but like I said, that's not been. I haven't. None that you want me to forfeit that. I could.
Forward it?
Yeah.
Yes, if you could, kindly.
Yeah.
Just because in previous presentations, it has been surmised, but you have.
I do have.
You
The
put
only
some
thing
burns
about
on it.
yeah, the
Some
thing
meat
about
on the
that.
burns.
What's that again? I'm sorry.
So you put some meat on the burns.
Yes.
So we would love to have that information.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stabile. Any redress, counsel?
No, no redress, Justice.
Yeah. Thank you.
For now, that's the end of your evidence. If we need to recall you, we will inform you in good time.
With who?
if we need to call you to come back
Yes.
and give any more evidence.
Uh-huh.
Because as I've indicated, individuals have been served adverse notice, anything that they may consider is reputational damage. And so if they wish to ask you any questions,
Yes.
we might have to bring you back.
Okay.
But I will give you notice, adequate notice, so that you can be prepared.
Oh, sure, yes.
Very well. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yes. Counsel, any other witness for the afternoon? Could
Yes.
someone help to show Mr. Stabile how to depart?
Also, Justice, is it possible that we could have a brief moment of recess just to prepare Mr. Dubois before he gives his
How
evidence?
much time do you need?
10 minutes?
If you say 10, it's probably 20, but I'll give you 15.
Grateful, Justice. You take 15.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.